This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any... Wait. Hey, let's go ahead and open up the doors to Daily with Doc and Becca. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Becca Dukes, and I am excited to be here with you Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time, most days, bringing information that is empowering to you as an individual, putting the power of choice and decision in your health journey in your hands. And you can't do that without having knowledge. So we bring knowledge that as you're listening, I'm pretty sure, like for me, it's like, oh, that just makes total sense. Folks, our bodies are not chemical deficient. They are nutrient deficient. And when you give the body what it needs, the body itself can do some amazing things. So here on Daily with Doc, it is Pharmacist Fridays. And I'm super excited on every Pharmacist Friday as we're bringing more information that's coming from more of a cellular, biological, chemist type slant to things on how things actually function within the body and how the body is able to function better when we give it the right stuff. So if you were invited by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them. Tell them thank you for sharing this program with you, because we are a resource for an amazing community of people that are health coaches, health advocates, people that just love people and want to see them thrive instead of just barely survive. So we want to make sure that you do get back with the person that shared this program with you and tell them thank you. Now, if there is no one to thank and you have questions and want to know more about what you hear in today's program, we do have a team of certified holistic health coaches available to take your calls and answer your questions at 855-949-3377. That is 855-949-3377. If you prefer email, and you have questions, you may email those questions in to questions@dailywithdoc.com. Now, this program is being sponsored by DailywithDoc.com, and there on our website, you will find good foods, bad foods list. If you're wondering what food should I be leaving out, what food should I be adding to, you're going to find the answer to that on DailywithDoc.com. You're also going to find some of our past presentations and some articles that are going to be helpful in creating that empowerment that you need in order to achieve your optimal best. So today we are going to be talking about the skin, and I cannot think of anybody better to talk about the skin with us than Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Now, Pharmacist Ben, he's very unique. I don't know very many pharmacists.
In a good way.
Will you just let me finish? Yes, in a very good way. Unique in a way that I don't know very many pharmacists that are educators, teachers, people who are able to take something complicated and make it easy to understand, easy to digest. And when we're talking about the skin, he specializes in skin on a nutritional level from the inside out. So folks, sit back and take notes, because today we are going to be talking about those skin health challenges that you may be experiencing and what you can do all on your own without something to suppress the symptoms nutritionally. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to be able to bring to the screen with me my friend, my mentor, a man who has been just a fantastic. When I have questions, I get answers. I may not like the answers because I got to make changes. But folks, when I listen, I make those changes, and good things happen. You can't refute it. So, Pharmacist Ben, hello and welcome to
Hi
Daily
there.
with Doc.
Hi,
Pharmacist
Becca.
Fridays.
Hi, Becca, and
Hi.
AJ, and Ruth Ellen, and Albert, and Phyllis, and Marilyn. I always forget to acknowledge everybody, and Doc, and all the
Yes.
folks who are listening. Welcome to Pharmacist Friday. And yes, I do have, not only have I been studying the skin literally since 1982, 42 years that I've been studying the skin hardcore. Every day I learn something new about the skin, which, by the way, gets a reputation for being the body's largest, what?
Organ.
And that therein lies the problem with how we treat the skin. We give lip service to the fact that the skin is the body's largest organ, but we don't treat it like an organ. Think about it. If you had a problem with your spleen or your liver, your heart, would you rub cream all over it to make it better? No, of course not. That would be silly. But yet we do that with the skin, and we think we're going to make the skin better. You know, there's probably about 20,000 different skincare products out there, maybe about 5,000 different companies out there. And the reason there's so many products out there and so many companies is because nobody's happy. Nobody's satisfied. I venture to say almost everybody on this call can agree with the fact that you're not satisfied with your skin or your skin care. And if you are, you're a very rare exception. Everybody's always scrolling through Instagram, looking through magazines, Cosmo and Self, and various health magazines, and listening to podcasts and internet folks, internet influencers, looking for the latest, greatest ingredient, the latest, greatest product, the latest, greatest formulation to take care of their skin needs. And this is a problem that's been ongoing probably throughout the history of the modern skincare business, but certainly since I've been a pharmacist, and I noticed it in my pharmacy practice. When I went to pharmacy school in 1982, I started, and I went from 1982 to 1986. And when I was in pharmacy school, I had this really wonderful opportunity of getting to work with a very famous skincare formulator inventor. He was a PhD chemist as well as being a pharmacist, and he invented many years prior, back in the 1920s, in his little pharmacy in San Antonio, Texas, he invented Blistex, the lip medicine Blistex. And Dr. Tony Jones was a professor at the School of Pharmacy, and he taught cosmetic chemistry and medicinal chemistry and something called pharmaceutics, which is the idea of how you deliver medicine to the body. And then he had a lab. He was very famous, so Blistex paid the university some money. The university gave Dr. Jones a lab. And all the Blistex products back in the 1980s were developed in his laboratory in Boulder, Colorado, in the basement of the School of Pharmacy. And one day I was just walking through the School of Pharmacy basement and pondering my life and figuring what the heck I was doing in pharmacy school, because all we were studying were generic names of things, and pharmacy accounting and how you open a drugstore. And I wanted to be a chemist. I wanted to study chemistry. And I was walking through the basement of the School of Pharmacy. I smelled this pepperminty smell coming out of one of the rooms, and got a little intrigued. I walked in there into this room. and I saw the coolest lab I'd ever seen in my life. It had distilling flasks and beakers on hot plates bubbling around, and there were all kinds of ingredients on shelves, and there was a little corner where there were animals, rabbits and rats and mice in the corner, and I just found myself totally fascinated. It was exactly where I wanted to be, and I saw a little old man tinkering around the beaker, Dr. Jones. He was tinkering around some beakers in the corner, and I went up and I chatted him up. We started talking, and next thing I knew, he says, "Hey, I need a research assistant. You want to be my research assistant?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It's like, heck yeah. And so for the next 4 years, myself and Dr. Jones and a couple other folks who we had hired as research assistants developed Blistex products. And back then there were only 4 Blistex products. There was a balm, there was a stick, and there was a little pot, a little jar that had some Blistex in it, and there was a cream that came in a little tube. And if you go to look at the drugstore today, you'll see 20 or 30 different Blistex products. Those were all developed by myself, Dr. Jones, and a couple other folks in the 1980s. And I got a soup to nuts education on how you make skincare products from a guy who was not a cosmetic chemist, but a medicinal chemist, as well as being a pharmacist. And he taught me that you could make skincare products that had medicinal and therapeutic properties. And while this may sound, oh yeah, not so interesting, the fact is that's not what skincare is about. Skincare is about superficiality. Even the word cosmetic is Greek for arranging, not changing, but arranging. And this is what skincare does. It arranges. And this is why nobody's satisfied with skincare. And when I graduated pharmacy school and went to work in drugstores, I'd never really worked in drugstores before. I'd always worked in the lab. And pharmacy students have to get internship hours like all healthcare professionals. And I never got internship hours in a pharmacy because I was getting my internship hours in the Blistex lab, and I really didn't know much about pharmacy, retail pharmacy. And I went out and got a job. The only job I could get was at Kmart because I didn't have any experience, and you know how that story goes. And anyway, when I got to Kmart Pharmacy in Longmont, Colorado, what's that? Yeah, no, I got canned. I got canned. That's right. But before I got canned, I went to work at Kmart in Longmont, Colorado. It's a little town in Colorado. Some of you may have heard of it. And the first thing I did when I got to the store was I went to the skincare section, because I didn't know drugs and I didn't really know pharmacy, but I knew skincare. And I didn't really, I knew skincare from a production standpoint, a formulation standpoint, a manufacturing standpoint, but I didn't know it from a consumer standpoint because I was a 20-year-old kid or a 25-year-old kid. I didn't really know much about skincare as in terms of it being used. I knew how to make the products, I knew the ingredients, et cetera. And so I found myself looking at the bottles and lotions, and I'd read the ingredients. I'd be like, almost every time I'd be like, holy cow, I can't believe that's in there. I can't believe they're putting that in the product, because I knew what the ingredients were, and there were ingredients in skincare products that I would need gloves for. When I was making them in the lab, I would wear gloves and a mask. And this is what people were rubbing on their skin. Or they would be so sticky and gooky. I was low man on the totem pole in the lab, so I would have to wash the dishes. And there were these ingredients that I used to have to hate to wash because they were so sticky and gooky, I couldn't get them off the beaker. And I remember using things like benzene, which is dry cleaning fluid, and acetone, and really harsh, really strong chemicals in order to get the gook off the glass beakers. And this is what people were rubbing on their skin. And I was horrified by what I was seeing. And then on top of that, people would complain about their skincare products, and they would complain about their skin. Ben, nothing's helping my wrinkles. Nothing's helping my eczema. My skin's drier after I put my moisturizer on than before. And by the way, quick aside, the dumbest word in all of healthcare is moisturizer. Talk about that here in a second. And so people complain, and they just were not happy with their skincare. And I kept hearing this over and over and over again until one day I had this incredible aha experience. This guy came up to my pharmacy, and it was closing time, and I was ready to get the heck out of the pharmacy. As many of you know, if you work in a service job at 5 to 9, that's when everybody decides they need their food, or they need their prescriptions refilled. And it's just this nightmare. This guy's walking up the aisle, and I hope he's not coming here, but he sure was. And I looked at his hand as he was walking up. I could see his hands, and his hands had blisters all over them, and lines, fissures, and cuts, and they looked so painful to look at. I couldn't imagine what he was dealing with. His name was Ed. He was a construction worker, and he was using a stuff on his hands called bag balm, which is used for cow's udders. And he said nothing was helping. The bag balm wasn't helping, and I had this inspiration experience, And I went in the back of the pharmacy, put some stuff together, gave it to him, didn't think anything of it. Long story short, the stuff worked tremendously. He came back 2 weeks later. His hands were almost not quite 100% improved, but almost 100% improved. Eventually, they were 100% improved. He became a regular customer for his own product at the pharmacy. He told his doctor about what he was doing. I started consulting with his doctor. Other doctors started calling the pharmacy, and I started to develop formulations for specific patients who had specific healthcare, skincare needs. I ended up starting a pharmacy of my own, which was specifically designed for people who had skincare problems. And along the while, I was studying nutrition. And as a pharmacist, because pharmacy, as we've talked about before, we studied nutrition in pharmacy school. I was also an athlete. I was a weightlifter, and I was using nutrition for myself. And I started to get the idea that maybe we could use nutrition to help with skincare problems. And lo and behold, that was indeed the case. Now, you all know, of course, that's logical, but this was 1987, 1988, when we really didn't know about the impact of nutrition on things like skincare needs, not to mention internal bodily needs. And I started to see that there was a very important relationship between nutrition and skin, and a relationship that was so important that it was really nutrition and diet that was causing people to be so unsatisfied with their skin. It wasn't the lack of skincare products. It was the lack of nutrition and the lack of diet. And so I made myself into a nutrition expert based on my experiences helping people using nutrition with their skin, in addition to my personal use of nutritional supplements and my academic training as a pharmacist nutritionist. Long story short, the bottom line is there is no skin condition that is not related to some kind of internal problem, usually involving, like all internal problems, nutrition, diet, and the digestive system. To put this another way, there are no skin conditions, or I should say it's very rare that there's a skin condition that's related to something topical. Eczema, psoriasis, acne, dry skin, rosacea, aging skin, all the things that we have problems with our skin. We blame the outside when the problem is on the inside, and therein lies the rub. And this is why nobody's happy with their skincare, because we're expecting to address internal problems with topical application of product. It doesn't work that way. If you have a skin problem, you got to get into the inside of the body, much like, as I said earlier, if you have a heart problem or liver problem or spleen problem or any other problem inside the body, because the skin is the body's largest organ, which it's not. We call it the body's largest organ. Rebecca, do you know what the body's largest organ is?
The skin.
No.
Oh.
Bonus.
Okay,
if anybody can tell me the body's largest organ, I'll send them a Truth Treatment skincare product on me.
Lungs, liver, or brain?
Nope. But we'll talk about that later. So anyway, if you have a skin issue, you've got an internal problem involving nutrition, involving diet, involving digestion, and most importantly, involving the immune system. The skin is an immune organ. And that makes perfect sense because it's on the outside of the body. The immune system is your defense system. So obviously, the first line of defense for your body is going to be on the outside, which means it's the skin. So most importantly, if you have a skin problem, you've got to work on the immune system and the inflammatory system. And that means digestion, that means diet, that means nutrition, and ultimately it means the blood. So what do? Well, first of all, almost all skin conditions involve the same problems that internal health challenges involve, which is the first point on the triangle of disease, involving dysbiosis or SIBO and leaky gut and intestinal permeability. I want everybody on the call to understand this. Intestinal permeability issues and leaky gut issues, which are secondary to SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and dysbiosis, in addition to a few other things, are the first thing to address with any health challenge, and that is including the skin. And so the first point of the triangle of disease, the entire triangle of disease, as we'll talk about here in a second, should come as no surprise to anybody, is where skin problems begin. They begin at the level of the 3 points: digestive system, blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid complex. The good news here is the skin turns over rapidly. In fact, the skin and the digestive tract turn over more rapidly than any other systems in the body, which means you can get quick results. for your psoriasis, for your acne, for your eczema, for your dermatitis, for your dry skin, for your aging skin, and for your rosacea or any other skin problem you can name, results can happen quickly. The most important nutrients for the skin are going to be the fatty nutrients. Not that the watery nutrients are not important, because they are. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first and foremost, it's the fatty nutrients. And this is a very important distinction that unfortunately doesn't get made enough by healthcare professionals or by skincare professionals or by distributors. Nutrition, like all things in chemistry, can be divided into lipo, fat solubility, or water solubility. Hydrophilic and lipophilic is what we say in the business. Lipophilic means fat loving. Hydrophilic means water loving. Phila means loving. Hydro water, lipo fat. The lipophilic nutrients play a predominant role in skin health and also conversely in the appearance of skin diseases. And the four most important lipophilic nutrients, fat-soluble nutrients, are going to be the 4 fat-soluble vitamins and the most important nutrient for the skin, which is probably the most important nutrient for the skin, which are the essential fatty acids, EFAs, your ultimate EFAs and your ultimate EFA plus. So let's talk about, and then I should also say there's a couple minerals, believe it or not, that have are processed by the fatty system in the body, and those are also have a special role to play in skin health, and that's zinc and selenium. So let's start off with the most important nutrient for the skin, which is your ultimate EFAs and your ultimate EFA plus. If you want to induce dryness, itchiness, scaliness in a laboratory animal, you rob that laboratory animal of essential fatty acids. That's how you produce all of the problems that we are not all, but many of the problems that people suffer from when they complain about their skin. Most people, when they complain about their skin, complain about dryness, complain about itchiness or scaliness or flakiness. All of these features of the skin that people complain about can be literally intentionally induced by removing EFAs from animals' diet, which tells you that by replacing these, you can restore the skin back to its natural hydration state. The hydration of the skin involves water. Moisturizers are complex cocktails, chemical cocktails of oil and wax and water and emulsifying agents to pull the whole thing together, and a bunch of other little chemicals, preservatives and fragrances and silicons and feel-good substances. And then if you're lucky, you might get an active ingredient or two. Moisturizers do not moisturize. And this is why people are so unsatisfied with their moisturizing products. The biggest complaint people have about skin is that it's dry. We'll talk about some other skin diseases here in a second, but the most common complaint is dry skin. Moisturizers not only do not moisturize, but even worse, when you put a moisturizer on your skin, so-called moisturizer on your skin, you suppress, you shut down, you down-regulate. My favorite word in biochemistry is upregulate, to turn things on, make things happen. That's what we want to do when we're trying to restore people back to health. We're trying to upregulate their chemistry, make things happen. Moisturizers down-regulate the skin's ability to hydrate itself. You see, the skin is on the outside of the body, so it's prone towards water loss. So nature has designed a process where water loss will be minimized. Part of that process involves a waxy coating on the surface. Another part of that process involves the production of molecules that trap water from the environment. And this is so cool because these molecules that trap water from the environment, technically they're referred to as the natural moisturizing factor, are specifically designed so we will never have dry skin. So the natural moisturizing factor accomplishes its feat of moisturizing the skin by reading, literally interpreting the environment that the skin is in. And what it's interpreting specifically is humidity. check this out. This is so amazing. This is how intelligent the body is and how intelligent the skin is. The molecules in the skin can assess the ambient humidity, the moisture in the air. And when the moisture in the air, the ambient humidity drops, these natural moisturizing molecules, which include things like electrolytes and amino acids and certain sugars, sugar-like molecules, these natural moisturizing factor molecules start to proliferate. The skin will make more of them in an effort to trap more moisture from the atmosphere. When the ambient humidity drops, you have this compensatory, adaptive, responsive mechanism that kicks in to turn on more moisture factors so it can grab more moisture from the air. It's kind of like how you get a goiter when your body runs out of iodine, or when your body doesn't have enough iodine. Your thyroid will expand to grab what little iodine it can find. That's called a goiter. It's sort of the same thing. This is how the body responds to stress. The body responds to stress by adapting, by becoming more able to deal with the stressful situation. In the case of the thyroid, you get a goiter so you can grab more iodine. In the case of stress on the muscle, you get bigger muscles so you can handle more stresses. In the case of the heart, you get a bigger, stronger heart so it can pump stronger. All of the body is designed this way, and the skin is no different, as you would expect it to be. The skin is a part of the body. It's an organ of the body. It's responsive to the environment. So when the ambient humidity drops, you make more moisture factors, no problem, right? You come to Colorado from Miami or from New York, there's less moisture in the air, you make more moisture factors, no problem, you're good. Now, when I do my talks, I always ask, when I do skincare talks, I always ask, how many people have dry skin? And I'll ask you guys, how many of you guys have dry skin? And if you're like everybody I talk to, everybody raises their hand. Everybody. But yet we have this system, this compensatory responsive system that's supposed to take care of the problem. So what's the problem? The problem is when we have dry skin, we coat the skin, we cover the skin, we apply something on the skin called a moisturizer, which doesn't moisturize, but it softens the skin. Moisturizers do not moisturize, they soften. So you say, oh, wow, I want my skin soft. Well, here's the problem. The skin requires hydration to be healthy. Hydration, water in the skin is important, not just so your skin looks good or feels good, but so chemistry can occur properly. Hydration is important for the enzymes to work correctly. Hydration is important for the skin cells to divide correctly. Hydration is important for the immune system to be stable in the skin. Hydration is a biochemical phenomena that's required for the skin to be healthy. So when you soften the skin with a moisturizer, you're not changing the hydration level of the skin, so the skin's still unhealthy, even if it's soft. But even worse, this is even worse, when you coat the skin with a waxy, slick product that's got oils and wax and emulsifiers and preservatives and fillers and some water, what you're doing is you're ultimately suppressing the natural moisture factor. The skin doesn't need to make any more moisture factor because when it looks up, it sees moisture from the waxy stuff that you put on. Moisturizers shut down the skin's ability to moisturize itself, to hydrate itself. And this is why I say, and I always get people upset, but it's the facts, the silliest thing you can put on your dry skin is a moisturizer. If you put a moisturizer on your skin, you are assuring your skin will be consistently dry. And this is why people have dry skin despite the fact that they're using moisturizers. We sell almost $14 billion a year in moisturizing products in this country, but everybody has dry skin. Some of you guys have a moisturizer in your purse and in your locker and in your car and 2 in your bathroom and 2 in your kitchen and 1 in your gym bag, and you've got moisturizers everywhere. How many moisturizers do you have? Rebecca and Phyllis, it's mostly ladies, guys too, but mostly ladies, but we all have dry skin. What's the definition of insanity, Rebecca?
Doing the same thing over and over again,
Right.
expecting the different result.
How we're treating our dry skin is literally insane. We keep getting more moisturizers and we keep shutting things down. And by the way, this phenomena of moisturizer suppression of dry skin is especially noticeable on the lips, because the lips are like an extreme version of your skin. And at Blistex, one of my jobs was to study the lips. I'd have to go to the library and pull out all these textbooks on lips. And let me tell you something, the lips are a very fascinating tissue, and they're like the skin, but they're an extreme version of the skin. Why? Because they're sticking out. And so nature has equipped the lips with extra moisturizing factors because the lips are more prone or more susceptible to dryness because they're sticking out. They're more susceptible to environmental damage because they're sticking out. So the lips are like an extreme version of the skin. And this phenomena of suppression of the moisture factors by moisturizers is especially noticeable on the lips. And this is why there are people, possibly some of you guys on this phone call, there are people who can't go 15 minutes without putting on chapstick, without putting on lip balm, because they're constantly putting on lip balm and they're constantly shutting down their natural moisture factors. So that as soon as their lipstick or their chapstick wears off, now they're really dry. Or as soon as their moisturizer wears off, now they're really dry. So this phenomena of shutting things down, of suppressing things down, is based on the fact that we don't understand how to treat the skin to make it healthy. The key to having soft skin is to upregulate the moisture factors and to upregulate the barrier, the strength of the barrier. So to upregulate the moisture factors, you want to use anti-moisturization strategies, anti-moisturizers. So if a moisturizer coats the skin and suppresses the moisture factor, an anti-moisturizer will anti-coat the skin and will increase or upregulate moisture factors. Say, what the heck is he talking about? Anti-moisturizing? Anti-occlusion. By the way, covering things up in biochemistry or in chemistry is called occlusion. So moisturizers occlude the skin and they suppress the moisture factor. So anti-occlusion is when you disrupt the surface of the skin. Rather than coating the surface of the skin, you disturb the surface of the skin. And there's a strategy for disturbing the surface of the skin. How do you disturb the surface of the skin? Well, first of all, disturbance is a very important biochemical process because it's disturbance that can be leveraged to make you stronger. When you lift weights, you're disturbing your muscle fibers. And this disturbance results in more muscle fibers, in stronger muscle fibers. It's the disturbances that can be leveraged. We call disturbances, in terms of the physical form, the musculoskeletal system, exercise. Exercise is musculoskeletal disturbance. And as we all know, or we should know, when you exercise, you get bigger, you get stronger, you get more able to handle life, you get a better body. We should all be exercising our bodies one way or another. It's one of the most important things you could do to stay healthy. The skin has a version of exercise. It has a version of disturbance. And just like disturbances in the muscle and exercise in the muscle make the muscle bigger, disturbances on the skin surface will make the skin surface stronger so that water will not evaporate as effectively. By the way, water coming through the skin, evaporating out of the skin, is called TEWL. That's what you may see in the textbooks or in magazines if you're reading about the skin, TEWL. Have you heard that term, Rebecca? TEWL.
No, I haven't.
TEWL stands for trans epidermal water loss. And that means just water evaporating. And the barrier is supposed to keep that from happening. But if you have a weak barrier, that doesn't happen. So strengthening the barrier can help prevent water loss, water leakage, TEWL. You strengthen the barrier the same way you strengthen the muscles, by disturbing it, by exercising it. How do you disturb the barrier? How do you exercise the barrier? With a process called exfoliation. Exfoliation is the skin's version of exercise. Exfoliation disturbs the skin surface the way lifting weights disturbs the muscle. And when you lift weights and disturb your muscle, you get a bigger muscle. And when you exfoliate the skin, you get a stronger, healthy barrier, which, by the way, provides multiple benefits, so we could talk about later. But it in terms of moisturization, it prevents water loss. So exfoliation is the exercise portion of building a strong, healthy skin barrier. You can also, by exfoliation, turn on the production of moisture factors. Occlusion, moisturization, covering the skin up, suppresses moisture factors. Exfoliation turns them on. So exfoliation is job number one to keep the skin healthy, not just in terms of building a stronger barrier and producing more moisture factors so your skin doesn't get dry, but also for turning on collagen, for people who don't want wrinkles, for turning on the production of what are called GAGs that trap water, substances like hyaluronic acid, which is made in the skin cells. In short, you get healthier, stronger, better, more beautiful, more youthful skin, softer skin, more moisturized skin, hydrated skin, less wrinkles, all the things you want in a skincare product by exfoliating, anti-moisturization, anti-occlusion, exercising the skin. And then the second thing is, because when it comes down to it, just by going to the gym, you're not going to get strong. You may get a little strong, but you're not going to get maximally strong just by going to the gym. You got to come home and do your nutrients. And it's this combination of stimulation and nutrition that really accounts for a healthy body. Likewise with the skin. You stimulate the skin, you disturb the skin surface, you exercise the skin via exfoliation, and then you make sure you're using nutrition, particularly the fatty nutrients. Particularly number one, your ultimate EFAs, which are almost like a treatment for dry skin. As I said, if you take EFAs out of the diet of a laboratory animal, you produce dry skin. Putting EFAs back restores the moisture balance of the skin. Everybody who has dry skin should be using the ultimate EFAs, and if you're still using the ultimate EFAs and you have dry skin, use more. And of course, then there's a whole digestive component, which we'll talk about here in a second. The second important nutrient for keeping your skin healthy, or the second class of nutrients, are the fatty vitamins. And we call the fatty vitamins DEAK, D-E-A-K, DEAK. That's an acronym for the fatty vitamins, D-E-A-K. The fatty vitamins are all important for protecting the fatty organ, particularly the fatty organ called the skin, particularly vitamin A, which comes in various forms, but most of you guys, if you follow skincare, if you enjoy skincare, if you're a skincare aficionado, or even if you're just using skincare products, you've heard of vitamin A for the skin in terms of retinol and retinoic acid. There's another form of vitamin A called retinol palmitate. But taking vitamin A orally is really important. And one of the cool things about longevity products is you get big old doses of nutrients like vitamin A. In addition to your ultimate EFAs, you want to make sure that you're using your other vitamin A products, including your ultimate multi, is it called the ultimate multi, the multiple vitamin?
Multi-EFA.
No, not the EFA. It's the ultimate multi, or they changed the name again? Is it called the multi-EFA?
So there's a multi-EFA.
Ultimate Daily.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Daily. That's what I'm thinking. The Ultimate Daily. So you want to make sure you're using your Ultimate Daily. And then the two minerals which are important for the skin are selenium and zinc. I absolutely love, and Doc has been talking about selenium for the heart for many, many years, but I love selenium for the skin. In fact, when you have dandruff, which is a sign that the skin is not hydrated, dandruff is caused by a lack of moisture in the skin, causing enzymes to not work as well. When you have, believe it or not, as we're sitting here on this phone call, there are skin cells flopping off of our skin and off of our scalp as we're sitting here. In fact, it's said that 50 to 60% of a dust ball under your bed is made up of skin cells. If you could have the right detection mechanisms and you looked around the room, you'd see a bunch of skin cells floating all over the place. Those skin cells that flop off are invisible to the naked eye because they're coming off one at a time, the way they're supposed to. When the skin is healthy, skin cells are flopping off and new skin cells are rising to the top. Out with the old, in with the new. This is how the skin turns over. Old skin cells flop off one at a time, and new skin cells rise to the top to replace the old ones that have flopped off. However, if your skin is not hydrated properly, if the skin is not as healthy as it should be, the skin cells won't flop off one at a time. They'll accumulate on the scalp. And then when they get heavy enough, they'll flop off 100 at a time or 1,000 at a time, and you'll see it as a flake. That flake that you see, whether it's the flakes on your skin, sometimes people will say they have ashy skin. That's just flakes on the surface of the skin. Dark people, black folks, or people who have dark skin who have a lot of pigment on their skin, they'll see white ashiness on the skin, or sometimes you'll see it on people's hair or come out for your scalp. Those white flakes represent large amounts of skin cells that aren't flopping off one at a time. They're flopping off 1,000 at a time, or 10,000 at a time, or even 100,000 at a time as a flake, because the enzymes that cause cells to drop off are not working properly because the skin doesn't have the same health or hydration that it should. The ultimate selenium is the active ingredient in Selsun Blue, which you've all heard of. Selsun Blue contains the ultimate selenium, not the ultimate selenium, but contains selenium, which is the treatment for dandruff. Another mineral, also great treatment for acne, which also involves cells that are clogging things up, not flopping off as well as they should. There's another mineral that's found in another shampoo that's used for dandruff, and that's zinc, which is probably the most important mineral for the skin. It's like a treatment, like a cure for acne, zinc, but it's also very important for wound healing. It's very important for building a strong, healthy barrier. When you burn your skin, zinc is stored in the skin. Nature stores zinc in your skin. When you burn your skin, zinc is mobilized. It travels to the burn to turn on the production genetically. Zinc acts as an epigenetic factor to turn on genetics of collagen production, of connective tissue production, and the zinc will actually migrate to the wound. Zinc is also, as I say, very important for people who have acne, not only because it helps stabilize the production or the proliferation of skin cells, but zinc is also very important for male hormones, which plays a very important role in the development of acne and skin diseases. Zinc is very important for blood sugar control, and insulin and diabetes also play a role in the development of skin diseases. There's another shampoo that uses zinc as an active ingredient the way Selsun Blue uses selenium. It's called Head and Shoulders. The active ingredient in Head and Shoulders is your Zinc FX. Look on the ingredient deck.
Yep.
So both zinc and selenium, whether it's you're using selenium, your ultimate selenium, or your Zinc FX, are key minerals for zinc, and they're just as important as the fat-soluble vitamins, and just as important as your what was the third one? Your EFAs, your ultimate EFAs, and your EFA plus. Those are the three main nutrients or formulations that you want for treating dry skin. And on top of that, you want to exfoliate your skin to help turn things on. There's lots of different ways to exfoliate. I don't want to get too much into topical skincare, but personally, I love alpha hydroxy acids because in addition to stimulating this, exfoliating the surface of the skin, you also drop the pH. The skin is the one part of the body that has that when it's healthy, has a low pH. The inside of the body tends to be alkaline. The outside of the body is acidic. And so putting acid on the skin can help restore the acid level, the healthy acid level of the skin. Dry skin, aging skin, thinning skin, unhealthy skin with psoriasis or dermatitis or eczema is typically alkaline, high pH. Dropping the pH of the skin can be accomplished by using these things like alpha hydroxy acids. Also, you can use foods to drop the pH of the skin because the pH of the skin is maintained by specific fats. The healthiest, the most important food you could ever eat for skin health, which includes these healthy fats for the skin, particularly a form of healthy fat called phospholipids, is eggs. The best food going for the skin are eggs. Don't overcook your eggs. As you know, I was listening to Doc talking on the program a couple days ago, and he was right on when he talked about the overcooking cholesterol. You don't want to cook cholesterol. You don't want to overcook. You don't want to overheat your cholesterol. So eggs, raw, ideally. And before you turn your nose up at raw eggs, just think of cracking a raw egg in your TMR shake or your birthday cake shake. I don't know if you had that birthday cake shake, but that is amazing.
It's good.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I mix the TMR with my birthday cake shake, and I always crack an egg in there, raw egg. The raw egg makes the shake taste even more delicious. So if you're thinking raw egg is yucky, just think of an orange Julius. which is a raw egg and orange juice, and it's really delicious. A raw egg in your birthday cake shake. Don't be turning your nose up at me, AJ. A raw egg and a TMR and your TMR shake and your a little birthday cake shake and some almond milk, and then top it off with some ice and water, maybe some frozen blueberries or strawberries and a little banana. Oh my God. In fact, I'm going to go up and have one right after I get off this call. I'm going to go have a shake.
Well, I know you're not a coffee person. I'm really not a coffee person either, but you take that birthday shake, you add our new Taza Davida coffee, the instant coffee in there with a little bit of even chocolate, like the Beyond Hot Chocolate. That's really good. Plus
Wow.
you're getting 10 medicinal mushrooms.
Yeah, I heard the medicinal mushrooms I heard are pretty tasty. I can't say because I don't drink coffee, so I can't say from personal experience, but I heard that that's pretty tasty. And medicinal mushrooms they're a real thing, medicinal mushrooms. That is not a toy. They've been used as medicine in China and in Asia for thousands of years. So the next element of dry skin or skin health, and it's not just dry skin, but also skin diseases, is the digestive system. No surprise. Leaky gut causes the release of inflammatory factors into the blood, which will ultimately find their way into the skin. Just like nobody should ever have dry skin, nobody should ever have sensitive skin. Nobody should ever have skin that they can't put a topical product on. A lot of people say, oh, I can't use that. It makes me break out. Can't use that product. It makes me red. It makes me irritated. I can't put anything on my skin. Everything makes my skin break out. All of those are signs of a hyperactive immune system. The skin is designed through millions of years of evolution to be a barrier to the environment, to be protective. So it's very resilient. Things are supposed to bounce off. They're not supposed to initiate immune reactions. If you have sensitive skin, if you have an immune reaction, if you have an immune disease like eczema, immune disease, psoriasis, an immune disease, dermatitis and rashes, immune diseases, rosacea, immune disease, even acne, which is the number one complaint number one skin complaint that people have, you have an immune disease. You have something percolating in the blood that's coming in through a leaky gut. Always, always, always approach skin diseases the same way you approach other health challenges. As first and foremost, the first point on the triangle of disease, work with intestinal permeability in a leaky gut. The same vitamin A that we talked about earlier for skin health is also important for the health of the intestine. And it turns out that the vitamin A that you're getting your Ultimate Daily is one of the best things you can take for leaky gut. The same way vitamin A protects the skin, it protects the intestinal lining. It's a repair mechanism for leaky gut. Your pig pack is also a repair mechanism for leaky gut. Collagen peptides are also a repair mechanism or support a repair mechanism for leaky gut. Whey protein in the TMR shake or in the Fit shake also are important for protecting against leaky gut. And then, of course, your Nightly Essence probiotics. I like the Nightly Essence. I know we have a few different probiotic formulations now. I like the Nightly Essence the best. If you find one that you like better, go for it. And then AJ showing me the Daily Digest. That's also important for a leaky gut. Of course, the most important thing you can do for a leaky gut is stay away from certain foods. Now, fried foods are a disaster for the intestinal lining. Fried foods are a disaster for a lot of things, but they're especially inflammatory for the intestinal lining. French fries will exacerbate or maybe even cause leaky gut. And I'm picking on French fries because everybody loves French fries. And by the way, why do we love fatty foods so much? Why is it that fatty foods are people can't get enough fatty foods? Because we're not getting enough of our ultimate EFAs. One of the first things that happens when you start supplementing with your ultimate EFAs, enough of them for long enough, is you'll notice your fat cravings go away. Your cravings for fatty foods start to subside. And if you lay off your ultimate EFAs for a few days, you're going to crave fatty foods again. So using your ultimate EFAs daily, and I know, we suggest 3, I suggest 9 or 12 of them a day. if you're just taking 3 that's just the bare minimum. You deserve more than them. I suggest 9 to 12 a day, especially if you're dealing with dry skin or leaky gut or fat cravings or some kind of inflammatory issue. Remember, ultimate EFAs are nature's aspirin. They have the same mechanism of action as aspirin as well as Motrin and naproxen and these drugs they call non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, which are they're not the worst drugs in the world, but they're still problematic drugs. Even aspirin can be a problematic drug. Your ultimate EFAs act like nature's version of aspirin. Plus, you're going to get benefits for moisturizing the skin, truly hydrating and moisturizing the skin. Plus, you'll get benefits for fat cravings and inflammation, anti-inflammatory benefits at the level of the intestine. The daily digest, of course, is important. Your ultimate enzymes can be very important. And I was talking to Rebecca a couple days ago when we did our Bright Bite. I said there's a couple really interesting things about the ultimate enzymes that we don't really talk about enough. Yeah, the ultimate enzymes are going to be great for your digestive system. They're digestive enzymes. They're going to help you break down proteins. They're very important. But you know what? And we've talked about this. The ultimate enzymes will clean your blood if you take them on an empty stomach. They'll improve wound healing and bruising and post-surgical trauma. If you're going into surgery, you'd be very smart. If you have a client or a customer who's going into surgery, you'd be very smart to tell them to get on the ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach so they get into your blood so they're not in your digestive system on an empty stomach for 2 or 3 weeks before surgery and 2 or 3 weeks after surgery. And they have anti-bruising and wound healing benefits. If you fall on the ice and you get a big old bruise on your knee, you can use the ultimate enzymes to help heal the bruising in your knee. There was a famous study that came out, I think in the 1940s or 1950s, on boxers who used the ultimate enzymes for bruising from boxing. And they found that they had accelerated healing from boxing by using their ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. They didn't have the ultimate enzymes, but the same things that are in the ultimate enzymes. So the ultimate enzymes are obviously very important for digestion. They're important for bruising and for wound healing. They're anti-inflammatory. They got pain relief properties. But here's something else about your ultimate enzymes. They contain an ingredient that acts like a methylating agent for people who have this MTHFR deficiency that they're so worried about. There's a whole story about that, but there are a lot of people that are concerned about methylation. Now, I know we've talked about methylation before. I don't want to talk, we don't need to talk about it again, but your ultimate enzymes contain a methylating ingredient that supports methylation for people who have MTHFR deficiencies. But there's more. Your ultimate enzymes also contain a molecule that's one of the most important molecules in your body for building collagen and connective tissue. And next week, we're going to talk about connective tissue, right, Becca? The connective tissue is the part of the body that deteriorates the most as we get older, or whose deterioration is the most concerning as we get older. The wrinkles and the fine lines and the osteoporosis and the hunched over appearance and the discomfort and the arthritis and the joint deterioration. All of these are manifestations of connective tissue deterioration, and building connective tissue is job number one for anti-aging. The ultimate enzymes contain a molecule that's important for building connective tissue. The ultimate enzymes contain a molecule that is important for detoxification of the liver. Your ultimate enzymes can help support liver detox by providing one of the body's most important detox molecules. And bonus, on top of everything else, your ultimate enzymes contain those phospholipids for building a strong, healthy skin barrier. It's all from the ultimate enzymes, one of the more economical, one of the least expensive products that we have. It's got so much multifunctionality, not to mention the fact that it's wonderful for the digestive system for helping the body break down food and access nutrients from food. So the ultimate enzymes are going to be important. And of course, Doc and I have a new favorite product. I shouldn't say new, but both of us have a favorite product. Is Doc on the call today? I don't know if Doc's on the call. I don't see him.
No, he was on. He did make it.
Okay, so Doc's one of Doc's favorite products, I'm happy to say, is my favorite product. One of my favorite products. I got a few favorites, but one of them, and that's the I-26. I-26 is important for killing those extra bacteria, those excess bacteria, I should say, that proliferate in the small intestine that can lead to this leaky gut issue. Using the I-26 is important for people who are dealing with immune reactions like psoriasis or dermatitis or rosacea, all of which involve the immune system. So working on digestive health with supplements, and then also doing a food diary and eliminating problem foods. Beans, legumes of all kinds, soy, nuts, peanuts that is, grain. They call them technically legumes, but they're things like soybeans and chickpeas and kidney beans and pinto beans and peanuts. These are all very, very immune activating, and they can cause skin problems. Likewise, dairy and eggs, and likewise seafood, shellfish for some people. Not because shellfish necessarily has anything in it, but shellfish can stimulate the production of something called histamine, which is also very important for skin reactions. If you have redness, think histamine. Histamine can also cause this condition called dermographia that we talked about earlier, where people can write their names on their skin. Histamine can also cause people to be reactive to everything. They call this mast cell activation syndrome, and that involves histamine that makes people allergic to water or the sun or their belt or their underwear or their bra strap. So working with histamine by patching up a leaky gut is also important, and using, believe it or not, nutrients like your zinc FX, like your CFX, and your hemp FX can all act like antihistamines. Even the melatonin product, our new sleep product, has antihistaminic properties. Melatonin is a wonderful ingredient for the skin, by the way, for a lot of reasons. And I use melatonin in many of my topical formulations. I put melatonin in because it's very important for skin health, but it also acts like a natural antihistamine for people who have reactions to everything. For psoriasis, which is a very problematic skin issue, but it's really a major health issue, and people who have psoriasis notoriously have shorter longevity. Psoriasis can also be associated with heart disease as well as cancer. Psoriasis is not simply a skin or a cosmetic problem. It's a serious autoimmune disease and needs to be addressed as such. All the leaky gut strategies we just talked about are going to be very important. All the food strategies we just talked about are going to be very important. Your fatty nutrients are especially important. In fact, fatty vitamin D is so important for psoriasis that even if you go to a dermatologist, who are obviously not necessarily hip to nutrition, many of them, most of them, they'll put you under a sun lamp for treating psoriasis. Why? Because vitamin D is the treatment for psoriasis. In fact, there's actually a prescription drug that is a pharmaceutical version of vitamin D that's used as a treatment for psoriasis called Dovanex, and that's pharmaceutical vitamin D. But you don't need pharmaceutical vitamin D. You can just get on your Healthy Start Pack and make sure you're getting enough sun, and you get your own vitamin D, and you can take vitamin D. That's for psoriasis. For eczema, eczema is associated with, especially childhood eczema, is associated with asthma and ear infections and other autoimmune diseases. Treat it like an immune problem, which means you've got to treat it like a digestive problem using all the digestive health strategies that we just talked about. There's very little you can do to treat any of these health challenges topically because they're really based in the immune system. Rosacea is not a skin condition, even though people think it is and it looks like it might be. It's really a blood condition, and it's associated with foods as well as low stomach acid, achlorhydria or hypochlorhydria. So your strategy for dealing with rosacea is to use your ultimate enzymes and apple cider vinegar, as well as all the digestive support. And then there's one more skin issue I was going to talk about, which I forgot. Acne.
Right.
Acne.
Oh.
But acne is such a huge skin issue. I only have a couple minutes, so I can't really talk about it, except I'll say this. There are two main types of acne. And those two main types of acne have to be treated differently. And by not treating these two main types of acne differently, we end up not getting benefits for either. And if you've ever seen somebody who's gone to the dermatologist for their acne condition and all they have is a big red mess from the topical products they put on, they're treating the wrong kind of acne. The dermatologist is treating the wrong kind of acne. So acne can be divided into the kind of acne that appears in the T-zone, like this, the T-zone. Ladies probably know what I'm talking about. Guys, that's the forehead and the middle of the face, versus acne that appears on the cheeks and on the jawline and on the chin. Sometimes they overlap, but the acne that's appearing on the cheeks and the jawline is a different type of acne than that appears on the T-zone. And if you try to treat the T-zone acne like a cheek acne or vice versa, you're not going to be successful. So treating T-zone acne and cheek acne require two different protocols and two different strategies. I really can't, I have kind of a hard stop, so we have to address that on a later call. You too?
Have a hard stop. Yeah.
You do too. Okay, I know I have a
I
hard
have a
stop. I got
long
to end here
drive to an
too.
airplane. So
Okay, I wanted to take some questions, but I don't think we can do that. So
we had 6 hands up, plus questions in the chat, plus questions coming in from YouTube. Oh my goodness, lots of questions
yeah, I know
for
it's
you.
funny about skin because skin's on the outside of the body, so we tend to worry about our skin a little more than we worry about the inside of our
You can
bodies
see it.
because everybody can see our skin. Can't see our liver, but everybody can see our skin. So I understand that, and that's why we're all so concerned about the skin, because it's a very obvious manifestation of our health or lack thereof. So I'm happy to answer questions. I know it's a big concern, and I have a lot of information to share about the skin. So maybe we can do that on our next talk, our next Pharmacist Friday.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, if you have questions and we didn't get to your question today, please, please, please email us questions@dailywithdoc.com. If they're specifically for Pharmacist Ben in regards to, something that the doctor has recommended for you, we'll make sure that we get that to Pharmacist Ben so that he can give you some consult on that. Include your phone number, because I will be forwarding that to Pharmacist Ben. And wow, lots of things that go on within the skin. And moisturizer doesn't help. And making sure that your skin is alkaline is not the right thing to do. It needs to be acidic, which there is hyaluronic acid. Longevity has a product called hyaluronic acid serum, which I absolutely am loving. And exfoliating, folks, get yourself a good dry brush and just get that skin, get the dry stuff off, get that skin rebuilding those cells, and let it breathe. Do we want to let it breathe? Pharmacist Ben?
Let the skin breathe.
Yeah.
Well,
Instead of covering it
that's a
up
good
all
point.
the time.
That's a very good point. Your skin is taking in oxygen from the air and it's releasing carbon dioxide and lactic acid and other wastes. So the skin does have a respiratory function in the sense that it's breathing things in and exhaling things out. And that's one of the problems with occlusive or covering the skin up with waxes and oils and moisturizing creams. Your skin does have to breathe. It literally is taking in oxygen from the environment and expelling waste, just like your lungs would do. In fact, your skin is actually called your third kidney because it is sort of a waste processing and a toxin releasing organ.
Okay. And I think that's going to be a topic all in itself
all
in the
in
future.
itself. There's lots of topics all in themselves.
Well, if we could get the co-hosts up, we could not do this without them, as they're keeping everything organized and making sure that everything runs smoothly. We want to just give a shout out as we have Albert helping to let people in. Thank you, Albert. We have Phyllis, who are keeping an eye on the social media platform. She's also helping out in the chat and letting people in. We have Marilyn, who is doing a great job also at putting that content in text that is being shared on the program. One of the biggest benefits of being here with us live on Daily with Doc. We have Ruth Ellen Sanchez, my executive production manager, who's making sure everything flows smoothly and keeps us organized. And also we have AJ, who's responsible for all the different platforms that you are watching us on or listening to us on today. As we're getting everything wrapped up here, folks, again, if we did not get to your question, send us questions at dailywithdoc.com. That's questions@dailywithdoc.com. If you're brand new, you've never spoken to anybody before, you want to contact somebody on the phone, 855-949-3377. So, folks, have a fabulous weekend. Can't wait to see you next week on Daily with Doc. Join us from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time by going to dailywithdoczoom.com. That's dailywithdoczoom.com. And don't forget, sign up for our newsletter. Go to our website, dailywithdoc.com. You'll find that sign up there. And if you have questions or want to contact us, that's also another option to contact us. So until next time, my name's Becca Dukes, and I'm excited to have you being more empowered, because I know empowerment brings hope. When we have hope, we can thrive. Bye for now. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.